Hey y'all, welcome on in. Grab a cup of tea, grab a coffee, whatever feels good for you in this moment. It is very fitting that it is storming right now. I prepared for this. I wanted to go live, but it told me I couldn't go live. Don't know why. We'll figure that out later. But I'm here because I want us to join together on what I'm calling Consider Your Soul Sunday Soul Sessions. And so, what I really want this to be is to be a space for collecting the resources you need to either prepare for the week, to reflect on something. But I just want it to be a gathering space. And so this one is going to be a little loose in how I move through what I want to talk about today. But I want to do this. I don't want to delay it. I don't want to try to perfect it. I just want to dive into it. So, welcome. I'm excited to be here. I even put on some clothes for y'all. I got a little dress because we're talking about really connecting to ourselves. And so that's part of my routine of connecting to myself is like, who do I want to be today? How do I want to show up today? Which version of myself do I want to carry into this room? Because I'm realizing there are so many versions of myself. So I want to start with, as you're gathering your tea or whatever you're sipping on, I'm going to start with a question. And then I'm going to talk to you about what I'm sipping on and why. So I want you to think about your first encounter, like truly encounter with yourself. You can take a couple of deep breaths just to kind of settle yourself. But I want you to consider the first time you ever truly encountered like this deeper self that you didn't even know existed. Um, and I want you to think about what that felt like. You can consider whether it was like you finally felt like you had found yourself, whether it was confusing, whether it was debilitating. Like, think about the experience you had. And I don't want to say whether it should be positive or negative or somewhere in between, but it's just your experience. So let's pull that experience into this moment. Um, and for me, I am going to work on talking a little slower because I tend to talk fast, especially when I get excited about things. Or I'm like, oh, I got to get the message out so they can listen. Like, they're not going to want to listen if I take my time. But what I'm learning is the people who want to listen, the people who care to listen, who this space is for, they'll wait for you. And, a lot of times it's that I'm not waiting for myself. And so I'm going to wait for me here too. So do that, gather your things. I'm really excited. Okay. So the first thing that I am going to talk about is what I'm sipping on because I am an herbalist. So I know that our herbal experiences, our choices and what we drink and what we eat and all those things really are a reflection of what's going on inside of us and a reflection of who we are naturally. Like, I love talking to people about like, what's your flavor profile? Because it tells me a lot about who they are. Mine is always, I like the more rooty, spicy, earthy blends. And that makes a lot of sense if you think about I'm an Aries and my rising sign is a Virgo. So you've got a lot of fire and you've got a lot of earth. And so I like to bring the two together, make the perfect drink. I'm always sipping on a chai. Um, so I didn't even introduce myself. I am Marasia Simone, if you don't know that. I am a well-being facilitator. I'm playing with that name to see if I like that. I'm an herbalist, trained as a spiritual herbalist. I love talking about like bringing in the spirit and the physical body together and allowing yourself to experience the magic of the herbs. Like, that's just what they were created for, is to really journey with us, to be our ally. So love talking about that. I love talking about synchronicities, um, figuring out the reasons why, or at least posing the question. And sometimes I do get overwhelmed with that, but in general it has led me to a different version of myself. um, and so I'm learning to like rock with it, to let myself be encouraged by it. So now that you know me, I'd love to hear your flavor profile of your tea. You can drop that in the comments because that'll help me get to know you a little bit. Sometimes we don't want to give people these intimate details of who we are, especially on social media, but you can share your flavor profile with me just so I can get to know you a little bit. So I am making a latte today. I've already frothed my milk. You see that in there? It's been sitting for a second because I was trying to get prepared. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it into my cup. Um, maybe one video, if you haven't already seen it on old videos, show you how to make your own latte. It's very simple. This is dandelion root, ginger, and cinnamon. Oh, I should have done cardamom. Forgot about that. But it was supposed to be similar to a chai, but also like stronger because I also wanted a coffee, but I don't need any more caffeine. So anyway, we're making this as a latte. I've got 1 teaspoon of sugar in there. Um, why am I drinking it? I told you I wanted a coffee. My flavor profile is spicy and rooty, and strong, like it's embodied. Um, so they're typically very grounding, even in their movement. So that's what I'm sipping today. And we can dive right on in. So the question was about like, what was your first true encounter with yourself? And one of the reasons I'm asking that is because I think when we start to focus in on how we've connected to ourselves, and when that moment we felt the most connected to ourselves, we can start to navigate a different experience of life. And navigating a different experience of life, meaning to connect you, to realign with your dreams, the ones you may not have never even known you had, or realign with a lifestyle that fits for you. So I am I am actually, by schooling, I'm an electrical engineer. I worked for I did electrical engineering work for like 10 years, including like co-op and um, including co-op and internship time and all of that. And I didn't hate my job, but I did know that I was out of alignment. I'd always said, like, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I'll do this for now, but I will do something else later. I'll give it about 10 years. Oh, that's thunder. And then I'll do something else. And thunder, oh my goodness. Okay. This is going with the topic. Today we're talking about change, and how it's a catalyst. Change, or how, what things are catalysts for change in your life. So yeah, so I always knew that. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what direction, but I knew that. And I remember in college, I started having panic attacks. And these panic attacks were the catalyst for the change that I needed in my life, for the direction that I was going into. And at the time, it didn't feel like that. It felt like I was disconnecting from my body, like I was disconnecting from the normal, the natural experience of life. And it was scary. Um, I feel like my whole life changed after that, though. But that's when I started drinking tea and introducing myself to herbs. And I did get on antidepressants at the time, anti-anxiety medication, just to get through college. And I kept taking it. That's not what we're talking about today, though. That's going to be a topic for another day. But yeah, people told me tea would calm me down. And so I really got into it, and it became a hobby. Then I started a business, and then I started another business. And so what I'm reflecting on today is the catalyst for that change. It's typically uncomfortable. It is typically heating up the body. I think about like cayenne pepper. Um, Cayenne is a catalyst. So if we're talking about an herbal blend, it's a catalyst, and catalysts help to get the medicine to where it needs to go. It's going to be all about movement, and we know change is all about movement. And so catalysts are typically going to create change. So the next part would be considering, what is your catalyst? And then pausing there, I wanted to talk about like who this space is for. Like, why should I be here? Why do I want to connect to these Sunday soul sessions? I think about how people talk about like, what is your target audience? Who are you targeting when you're talking? And honestly, everyone's welcome. I don't have a particular area that I am focusing in, but what I am focusing on are people who can feel that catalyst, who have felt that catalyst, who know that something is changing within them, who have always felt a little different from the spaces they're in, and who have always had felt that there was that God was real, but everybody's relationship with God is different. And so who have known that their experience of God with God is unique. And so that is what this space is for. Now, if you love herbal remedies, you're probably going to like it here too, because I'm always talking about herbal remedies. But honestly, it's really going to be about reflecting on self, your experience in this world, your presence in this world, and how it's connected to something bigger and greater, and understanding what that connection is, or where it's coming from, or why it's calling you. And so I love to talk about like the whispers of the heart, and that's really the medicine. These whispers of the heart are your medicine. They are calling you to something. They're calling something forward within you, but it needs you to connect with it. It needs you to say yes, like I'm listening. And, you know, there's so much time that goes by where we are not tuned into what's already happening within us, whether that's by choice or by circumstance. But there's always this catalyst. There's this catalyst that's like, no, now. And a lot of us are experiencing it more often. I ended up quitting my job that was very comfortable of 10 years. I had a little money on the side, but I was not prepared to quit, and my life has completely changed since. And I have met a community of people who have held me in ways that I didn't even know I needed to be held, or that supported me in ways I didn't know people supported people. They really brought me back home. I did grow up in a very home and community loving kind of space. And so they really brought me back home. And so what I hope to share here is that sometimes these catalysts may feel like your world is upending, but things are realigning. And, you know, I think it's one thing to teach that, and then it's one thing to teach it and share your experience within it. And so, what I've learned about myself and my medicine, and what it is that I want to teach when we're talking about well being, is that I'm not disconnected from the messages that I share. And that's my superpower. It's not, you know, sometimes I think we feel shame for, you know, we're still going through this, we're still experiencing this, and we don't feel ready to talk about it. We don't feel ready for other people um, to be led into that space. And some things, they are reserved for you, but a lot of things, a lot of this medicine that I am receiving is overflowing so that I can share it. And that is part of my healing journey, is being able to share this medicine. Whether it be something that happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or yesterday, it is relevant. So I think one of the funny things that we're talking about this, my friend, I went to go do the MS walk with him, and he was like, "You're glowing," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you," because I know the last 3 weeks have been tough for me. Like, they have been really heavy. I've been very emotional, confused, and a lot of different things, a lot of different emotions and feelings coming up that I didn't know what to do with them. And yeah, he was like, every time I see you, you're just glowing. And he's been saying this since I quit my job. I think they didn't expect me to have so much energy. I have a whole nother set of energy that I didn't used to have, excuse me, when we interacted. And so he was like, you know, yeah, you're glowing. And I'm just like, well, I've been feeling this and I've been feeling that. And but thank you. And what it helped me to realize is that I am no longer holding my experiences in the way that I used to. It helped me to really see the change that had happened within me, that the heaviness that I may feel or experience is no longer consuming me. It's no longer like creating a whole nother personality within me. It is a part of something I experience, but I don't even hold it the same way anymore. And sometimes I don't think we get to acknowledge, like, we're going on this journey. How much has it helped? How much have I changed? How much space, what capacity have I created by going through this experience? And in that moment, I was able to really reflect on that because I'm like, I guess I don't look like what I've been through, you know, like the older people say. But that's really what was happening, is before I was allowing the things that I was feeling and experiencing to control my life, to control the way I showed up in the world. And I'm learning something different now. And that's all about that journey of connecting back to the heart, the whispers of the heart. And it's really about embracing yourself. And people talk about that all the time, but what does it mean to embrace yourself? And I think what that really means is to embrace change, because it's time. And that, I know, was a long way to say what we were talking about today. Um, but yeah, it's time to embrace that change. And so I want to bring us back to that question I asked about when you experience your first encounter of yourself, like where you truly felt like something in you sparked, it ignited, maybe similar to a passion. Um, you might even felt this deep feeling sensation in your belly that you didn't know how to explain, but also felt like it was going to burst. And so that brings me to change. Sometimes for change to happen, everything else has to fall apart. Everything else has to burn away. And that can sometimes be uncomfortable and painful. But I think about like that deep sensation in the belly. For me, sometimes it felt really exciting. Like it felt like fireworks. And then other times it felt like pain, like, like sinking in the gut pain. But in both times, there was fire present, and fire facilitates change. Fire is a catalyst. And so there were things that were changing within me, around me, but for me. And without that catalyst, without, even anxiety itself is heat in the body. And so without that catalyst, would things be the way they are now? Would I have ever taken that leap of faith? Would I be in this community of people who can really see me and hold me in the light that I carry, um, and share that experience with me? Would any of those things have happened? And if I could go back, would I? And for me, the answer is no, absolutely not. I would not. I would not go back and change a thing. As uncomfortable as this has been, as scary as it's been, as many times as I've cried, I wouldn't change it. And so, one of the things about going on journeys like this, and what I ultimately want to share, is that we need community. And sometimes that community looks like physical, tangible resources. Sometimes that community looks like really diving into your spirituality and connecting to God or spirit in whatever way that resonates with you. That could be therapy. That could be a life coach. That could be a mentor in whatever work that you're feeling called to do. That could be a teacher. It could be a group of friends who inspire you. It could be family members who inspire you. It could be connecting to different versions of yourself. And so there's so many things that encompass like our community. And so my goal is to share and teach resources. Like, what are your resources? One of my favorite decks, she says something like, I think it's Grandma's Baby, Lenormand deck, but she says, I think it's for the tools card. It's like, look around, what are your resources? And that's been whispering in the back of my mind because I've always said, I want to be a resource to my community. I don't know how it's going to happen, but like, I want to show them that there are other resources. Like, there's a way out, there's a way to feel better, there's a way closer to yourself, is ultimately what it is. And as we get closer to ourselves, we get closer to that higher experience, that higher presence, that godlike presence, God, spirit, all of it. We get closer to that when we allow ourselves to get closer to ourselves. And so if you think about the fact that we were created from something, you have to believe that we were created for something. And so with that, when we begin to focus more on our heart, like our calling, that thing that sparks you, that lights you up, it may not look the way that you thought that it would. So there is flexibility required, but it is going to be the honest and the truthful version, of yourself. Um, and it's going to be in ways that you may not have ever imagined, but you've known that was possible. You knew that was going to happen. And so, yeah, I think that connecting to yourself is the first step. Connecting to that to figure out what you're passionate about, figure out what your purpose is, figure out what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what works for you, what doesn't work. It's literally the most simple things that you need to focus on in order to connect to yourself. How do you embrace what's natural? Like, it's something as simple as like, I don't like the way this texture feels on my body. That's a no for you. Or like, this color drowns me out. That's a no for you. And so I think some of these things that we think are so minor and unimportant are actually information. That's actually data to collect about yourself. I think about like how I've always been into earth tones. That was information about myself, about this deeper part of myself that I was going to get to know at a later date, and now I'm a medicine woman. I am gardening. I'm outside as often as I can be. And I've always been outside as a child, but I would just sit on the porch. Or I'd play with my friends playing sports. And sometimes we'd play in the dirt, but I never dove into that part of myself because I didn't know how rich and important it was to my own healing and to my own experience in life. But once you start asking the questions, um, then you get to discover some of the answers. So I guess I want you to consider everything, every choice, every decision you made as information. It's not necessarily just this direction or it tells you exactly where to go and who to be and how to show up, but it informs you and just allow it to inform you without judgment. And so, yeah, I think about one of my favorite practices I did with my life coach was values work. And now I'm seeing that come up in everything in life is, are you ignoring your values based on who you think you should be or how you think you should show up for people? And my top value was having a space of my own. It's like really this boundary of I have this space of existence, and I don't really like people crossing that boundary, or I don't like people not respecting the space, or I need to be able to retreat to this space, or designate this space wherever I'm at. And so if I'm in a space where people are not acknowledging that, considering that, or I'm having to beg people to like give me a little space, like, it's just crossing that boundary. My whole body responds at this point. It's not like I'm a little uncomfortable. My body heats up. It's like, no, we said no. No means no in this instance. And every time I ignore that, I feel like, I don't want to say shit hits the fan, but I feel like a big thing comes up for me. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? Why does that bother me? Or where is this coming from? And it always goes back to I ignored that one value. And so it's been a journey of like self actualization, self discovery, empowerment, and all those things. And so all these different resources can be part of your change, because the change is happening regardless. You can feel it, you can hear it, you can see it all around you. That change is very present right now. And so really the challenge is, how do I embrace this change? How do I allow this change to push or put me into a space that I want to be? And so I guess I would ask you to focus on what is your catalyst, because your catalyst may also be the medicine that you need in this change. So I want to end on that, but I'm not going to, because there were some other points I wanted to make. Um, let's see. I have some notes. I feel like we kind of just went ahead and went into that. Yeah. Okay. Because I was going to talk about a boiling point, and that's kind of the same as the cayenne pepper. And in herbalism, we love to give human like qualities to plants. And, we talk about the spirit of the plants, and you don't have to believe it, but it's real. So we did this thing called a plant walk, and we all had to connect to a plant. We couldn't just decide this is the plant I want to do. You had to connect to the plant in some sort of spiritual way. Synchronicities. I love synchronicities. It's like little nudges that God is working and that is handled. That's what I look at synchronicities as. It's like you're exactly where you need to be. And so synchronicities just kept happening. My plant walk was with the rose, which is like the gentle mother, the divine mother. It's very nurturing. It's all about like deep self love on a soul level. It's not just on a physical level, but the physical is a part of it. Um, what I recognized was that whatever was inside was coming outside, and so it was deep work. It was divine work, like getting to your divine self, the divinity within you, like your godlike presence. I think Rose helped with that. Rose helped me to center. I started the business Center Sage, but it helped me to center that wisdom, center the whispers of the heart, that medicine, and allow it to heal me, to instruct me on how to heal, how to move through these things, these heavy things, Something like self-worth that you think you already have, you think you've mastered. And it's like, no, let's circle back. But it's very gentle, it's very mothering. Um, it's soothing, but it is also, it's like bringing you into divine alignment, bringing you into your divine anointing. Like, this is your place of authority, this is your position of authority that you were born to be in, that you were created for. And so we're going to help you get there. And that's what, the medicine of the rose felt like for me. And so I think it's going to be really cool for, even when I bring up herbs, if there are ones that resonate with you, they're probably part of your medicine, to be a catalyst for this change for you. So, yeah, mine definitely. I had a rose bush that was abandoned on my back porch that never bloomed. And when it was like, okay, is this my plant or not? Because I meditated and it was the first thing that came to me. And I was like, no, that was too easy. I just picked the easiest thing. And so it just kept happening. I had a grandma rose who had just passed that last summer. And me and my sister started having these conversations where we would talk about like her and her sisters and how we want to be different, and how we can embrace each other and each other's needs. And this was all centering my grandma Rose who had just passed. I had that rose bush bloom out of nowhere on the back porch. Was like definitely a yes, and a lot of other synchronicities that were like, no, Rose is your plant. And the first month, I remember I was crying all the time, and it was just this deep release. And I was connecting to people differently, I was hearing their stories differently. I felt like a writer, like I felt like it felt very intimate. This first month, like everything slowed down and I could hear things differently and experience people differently. And it was just a very beautiful experience. Maybe one day I'll put my link to my presentation. We had to do a presentation and I did a video of the plant walk with Rose. And so maybe one day I will put that in there. But yeah, so plants are powerful. Plants are alive. Their spirit is alive and they're helping us to get through each day, whether we notice them or not. Even putting flowers in your house, having house plants, different things like that. If you don't want to ingest the plants, if you're, skeptic like I am, I've been working on that though. I don't drink every plant. I don't engage every plant, not because I don't think it's valuable. I know that there's something that I need to understand about this plant, build a relationship before I just kind of consume. And yeah, I mean the plants know that I struggle with trust. So it's like, are you sure you're the word for this? But they always surprise me. So yeah, we like to give like real imagery, real personalities to the plants, because that's how they show up in your life. And so with this plant walk, we could not research anything about this plant. We had to just engage the plant, talk to the plant, bathe in the plant, sip the tea of the plant, just everything, anything. Grow the plant. And, I'm like, okay, like, I mean, I'll do it. But my life drastically changed. Another catalyst. But plants have been a catalyst in my life, period. Um, Maybe not necessarily the plants. The anxiety has been the catalyst that has brought me to the plants. And then I think at that point, the plants have been my number, I don't know, really high on the list. Very important resource for me on the journey. So what I say is that we all have this thing. Yours may not be plants. And you may not deal with anxiety or panic attacks. You may deal with something else. But whatever that thing is, it is a catalyst and it's trying to tell you something. And so for our first session together, the idea is to look at what this catalyst is telling you about what needs to change. What it's telling you about time, like it's time now. And through the week, I guess what I would want you to do is consider, what is time now? What is it time for? Um, we know change and we know it's time, but in what direction? Like what do I need to embrace in order to facilitate this change, or to allow this change to happen, to surrender to the change? But first, just identify your catalyst. What is it that you're going through right now, that you're experiencing, that you feel like you're cycling through, that feels like it just completely took you out of your body, completely took you out of your life? There's something important about that. So I appreciate you guys sitting here with me today, and centering the whispers of the heart. considering your soul. There's so much more I could have dove into about what that means. But we'll start here because this felt good. So, if you have not already told me your plant profile, share your plant profile with me. Because if y'all share y'all's plant profile with me, I can also come in here with recipes based on that, to share as I do each session. Um, but I want you to be gentle with yourself. I want you to really think about that catalyst, journal about the catalyst, um, and consider what it's trying to tell you. Just keep writing, keep journaling. If you feel like you don't have anything, give yourself a week, and by next Sunday, you'll have something. That's just how this works. Especially working with me, the synchronicities are going to start popping up. You're going to start noticing patterns of numbers, patterns of animals, patterns of everything. Because when we start to notice these patterns, we notice how deeply interconnected we are with everything around us. So, like yesterday or earlier today, I've been seeing bees in my back patio area for the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, where are the bees over here? Like, there's nothing over here. And so then yesterday, I finally had my first rose bloom. And it was beautiful because I had a bunch of different rose bushes and they've been blending back there. But that bee was back and it was just buzzing all around the flowers. And I'm like, dang, the bees know when the flowers are about to bloom. Like, they're already ready. They already know the space is coming in. And I didn't know my flowers were getting ready to bloom. I hadn't even noticed the buds on them. But the bees knew, and it's their job to know. And so then it just had me thinking about, like, have the bees been swarming around you lately? What bees symbolize for us, busyness, work, but purpose, intentionality, and it's time. You know what I mean? It's the changing of the seasons is here, and it's time to get moving. It is time to be the catalyst. It is time to embrace that catalyst energy. And I think I just cheated and gave you the answer to the question, but that may not be your answer. That is my answer. It is time for me to be a catalyst in the spaces that I am in. Oh my God, that is my purpose. That is one of my purposes. That is a role I play. Okay, this was not scheduled, but yes, thinking about what you offer into a space is going to be important, because that just randomly dropped in there. So synchronicity, because I wasn't talking about myself, but um, what I offer to a space is change. When I move into a space, a lot of things start changing there. Whether I am orchestrating them or I'm supporting them, that's just how it happens. And so, yeah, this is going to be a journey of getting to know what your medicine is, getting to know what your thing is, so that you can shift into a more aligned lifestyle and version of who you want to be and how you want to show up. So, leave me some comments. Of course, like the video. You can share it if you want to. Definitely subscribe, because we're going to be doing this every week. And I'm trying to be really disciplined with this because it doesn't feel like, yeah, it feels like I need to be disciplined with it. So, excuse me, I'm excited about that. But yeah, leave a comment, leave your flavor profile. That's going to be my first thing. Leave your flavor profile. Um, and then maybe leave some questions you have around resources that will support your overall well being. Like, what resources have you been having questions about? And that'll also help to facilitate some of the conversation in these next videos. But overall, the idea is to consider your soul, center your sage. Like, what would you do if you had to consider your soul? Because I don't know that that's the first thing that we think in the morning, is like, what does my soul need? Like, what does it mean to consider my soul? And a lot of times we're just moving through life, matriculating in this, the space that we just been, the monotony of every day, that we don't consider our soul. And so it's kind of like looking at how I can live a life that considers my soul, like my soul's needs, to where I start shining and I start glowing even when I don't feel my best, because my soul is present with me and that I am connected to that space. Because many of us have gone disconnected from our soul because of the world, the way the world is functioning, because of the way the world functions. And so it is an effort now to reconnect to that piece of yourself and to remember that piece of yourself. And so, as we finally close out, I just ask that you think about, what is the catalyst in your life? What does it mean for you to center your soul? and what role you play in the space that you already exist in. And do you like that role? So, thank you for listening in. I am Marisha Simone of Center Sage, and Consider Your Soul here on YouTube. So, like, share, and subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. Let's have community and conversation.